Being the convener of this session, I think I will open the session by saying a few words. Like, first of all, at the onset, will be thanking the Almighty, the Creator of this universe, uh, that is for who created this universe in which all human beings, irrespective of caste, creed, or religion or nationality, and all flora and fauna, all the things have to coexist harmoniously. That is the thing. And we will observe a few seconds of silent prayer. Okay, we will move on to two things. Being the convener, I would like to give us an introductory talk. One is how it happened, that how this topic has been evolved in the Center for Environmental Efficiency platform. Because Maria, my daughter, she visited India after 4 years due to COVID. And she has been in transportation architecture there in California. And when she visited this time in February, she was astonished to see that the kind of footpaths there in Cochin city. That means footpaths are there. There are so many places where there was no footpath at all. And wherever there is a footpath, we can see a lot of hurdles, like multiple use of the footpaths. Transformers are there blocking the people, and also this has acts as a drainage way so that the slabs are dislocated, and the vendors were there so that people could not walk through the road. And also there are the most of it, the very high part of the funny situation is that wherever there is a footpath constructed by Kochi Metro as the NMT, non-motorized transport funding of the government, it cannot be used because the two-wheelers are using it whenever there is a traffic block on the road. So it is a very funny situation, and we were very unhappy about it. And even especially she was very unhappy about it, comparing with what is happening in US or in California, and what is the present situation in Cochin city. So we were just thinking about what to do. Coincidentally, what happened is Advocate Suvidat from New Delhi, contacted us telling that, Madam, you are an environmental NGO. Why don't we brainstorm about the kind of footpath? Why there is no footpath? Is there any legal hassles, or is there any technical issues? Is there any design problems, or there is a behavioral problem of the people? So we have to brainstorm it, and we have to find some solutions to ensure better footpaths. Then this is the condition. Then three of us sat together in an online session, and we have decided we will conduct this thing, this kind of a discussion, panel discussion, in so that we can elicit different valid points from experts in the field. So why, when I thought deeply into the problem, then I thought that this has got high relevance for the theme which we are propagating, that means Center for Environmental Efficiency is propagating. Center for Environmental Efficiency is propagating the concepts which have been evolved during my thesis dissertation, that is ENCC, that is environmental efficiency and carrying capacity. Environmental efficiency is the main thing which should exist in urban areas, while carrying capacity is the thing which should exist in the rural areas, which supports the urban activities at the center. So environmentally, when I think about it, that environmental efficiency, it is a comprehensive, or it is a holistic decision-making process. That means it is an indicator which defines our health status, then educational status, or then income status, and also the way it is being distributed between the haves and have-nots, as advantaged and disadvantaged. And this is exactly in line with the findings of IHDI concept of UNDP, that means Inequality Adjusted Human Development Index. Then I thought we have to find out what is the input. Then I was searching about, and I was finding out the ecological footprint studies conducted by Global Footprint Network, in which energy, land, as well as the productivity of the land. All these things are considered. Then I thought by taking one divided by other, this will define the whole situation. We can make use of it for holistic decision making. So environmental efficiency is nothing but IHDI divided by EFP. That means ecological footprint. So we have got calculation at the international level. I have done comparisons between nations and between cities, which are wherever the data is available, and things like that. Now, then I am considering this environment efficiency indicator. I am considering it as a concept where we have to take it down to the cities. Then I thought, see, our investments, our land, and our consumption, human consumption, everything is rooted towards human development. Human centric investments are to be inculcated. So, presently, we have a GDP oriented linear economic system where people are bothered about the business and money making, and they are not bothered about what is happening around the world. They will be throwing the waste or throwing the things, emissions, everything to the world, which comes as externalities to the human existence. So, we are, whenever we are thinking about that, then I thought, if we have a dedicated, we don't have dedicated footpaths in cities. What will happen if the walking is difficult through the cities? What happen? People will resort to personalized vehicle. When the people resort to personalized vehicles, there will be fossil fuel consumption, and also due to traffic blockage, there will be wastage of fuel, fossil fuel, which creates air pollution. Then when the air pollution, it aggravates, we have to depend on hospitals, where the hospital industry is flourishing in Kerala because lot of diseases. And also that means petrol bunks are also making a lot of money. Automobile industries are also making a lot of money. All the three people are enjoying life. That means with their GDP, that means with their per capita income, but the human development is regressing because it is like a vicious circle that is creating problem, then solving it, creating problem, solving it. We have to progress. Our humanity should progress. Then I thought that this footpaths, if you are ensuring a correct footpaths network system where we can walk freely, that means in an equitable way, that means all the people should be able to use in a free and fair manner, so that it can create wonders in the field of human development. Because once there is a dedicated footpath, people will be resorting to either walking or to mass transport systems, and they will be using less fossil fuels, and they don't have to, there will be less air pollution, and they don't have to go to hospitals. This kind of environmental efficiency oriented circular economy is to be inculcated. So, as a first step, because world over, sustainable cities, creation of sustainable cities is the only hope where 70% our consumption is exceeding Earth's resources capacity, regenerative capacity, it is exceeding by 70%. And this has to be brought down to 0%. That exceeding should be brought down. And this is the only way where over we have to make sustainable cities. And for in sustainable cities, we have to have a fundamental thing. Most rightful thing is that we should have the foolproof footpath network system where it is a right to life, because so many people are dying because of the pedestrian accidents, and it's also right to living and also right to sustainability, because in the long run as well as the short run, people will be affected. So that is the introduction. So with this, I hand over to Maria to control the full event and to taking that is ideas from the experts.
Hi everyone. I would like to request everyone who's not speaking to please mute your microphones. Good morning, everyone. I'm Maria Katikaran. I'm a licensed architect and urbanist based out of San Francisco and California. I'm really happy to be moderating this session, and this is a topic that I'm really passionate about. To me, walking is a fundamental right, and not having good footpaths is a problem of equity. I feel like rich people always have cars, and it's only people who are poor need to walk most of the time, and they don't have any means to do that. They kind of have to compromise their safety as well as their comfort to be walking on roads in Cochin. I'm really honored to have three exceptional panelists who are leaders in their respective fields with us today. I would firstly like to introduce Dr. Manoj Kumar Kini. Dr. Manoj Kumar Kini was also my professor at College of Engineering, Trivandrum. Currently, he's a managing director of Kerala Tourism Infrastructure Limited, and he's involved in the Muziris Heritage Project as well as the Institute of Coastal Heritage Studies. An alumnus of SEPT and SPA New Delhi, Dr. Manoj Kumar Kini is was formerly the principal at KSID Kollam and has 2 decades of experience in design education, research, and practice. He has participated in a program he was in charge of urban design at CET Trivandrum and is a member of PG and UG academic and curriculum committees at the APJ Abdul Kalam Technological University. Dr. Manoj has initiated many public projects where design plays a vital role in engaging the society and for societal benefit. His primary research interests include design education, theory of design, morphological studies, timber architecture, and joinery details in Kerala. Welcome, Dr. Manoj. Secondly, I would like to introduce our second panelist. Our second panelist is Dr. B.G. Sridevi, a life fellow of the Institution of Engineers India. Dr. B.G. Sridevi is presently working as project director and a top-level expert of WAPCO's Government of India. She was the chief scientist and director of National Transportation Planning and Research Center at NATPAC. She obtained a PhD in pavement engineering from Cochin University of Science and Technology and MTech in civil engineering from Madras IIT. She has functioned as an expert member of different committees constituted by the Kerala State Planning Board, Trivandrum Development Authority, Kerala Road Safety Authority, and other departments of the Government of Kerala. Welcome, madam. And our third guest for the day is Advocate Suvidat Sundaram. Advocate Suvidat Sundaram is an advocate on record, practicing independently before the Honorable Supreme Court of India. He's the founder of Outsay Legal, a corporate law firm with presence all across India. Dr. Suvidat is also a visiting faculty at several prestigious law schools across India and drafts private member bills for the members of Parliament of the Lok Sabha. In his practice in the last 15 years as advocate, he has worked on and handled several notable cases like the Citizenship Amendment Act, entry of women in Sabrimala, banning of liquor shops on the highways, and banning of Diwali crackers. Thank you, all of you, for joining us today, and thank you for your time. So I would like to begin this session by asking my first question to Dr. Manoj Kumar Kini. So Dr. Kini, what is the importance of walking in urbanism? Like, what is the importance of sidewalks in cities?
In fact, I should I should start the discussion in a kind of a larger framework where, if you look at human beings as such, we are all walkers. If you look at the human evolution, the history of human evolution, even from the beginning, human beings are considered to be designed to be walkers, not even to sit. We are hunter gatherers. So fundamentally, the existence of human life is totally dependent upon walking. So those people who can walk, they will survive. Those people who can, walk will always remain healthy, and they will always be, in tune with the nature. That's what you know evolution says, and biology says. So if you look at it from that perspective, what has happened over the years is that we have confined ourselves from nature to controlled systems, atmosphere. where we are confined. Recently, I was reading an interesting document where they say that the entire issues that we human beings are facing is basically because of our confinement to designed, or maybe what do you call this, built environment which we are in. So if you look at human life now, especially in cities, you know that more than 80% of our life is confined in this type of environment where we depend upon the artificial light and artificial source of ventilation, etc., etc. So our entire life, those who are working, for example, or maybe even anywhere, whether it's in service sector or any kind of industries, anywhere, we are all confined to this type of created environment where I think as designers we have to think about taking the people back to the nature. They have to be brought back to open spaces, and the only way to bring them back is to introduce them to walking and putting them back to nature through pedestrianization. So that is where the relation between walking and urbanism and human life, that relation exists. You're on mute. You're on mute, Maria.
Oh, sorry. My next question is to Advocate Suvidit. So, Advocate Suvidit, do you think walking is a necessary right for? So, we have other fundamental rights, right? Rights like right to life, right to education, etc. So, do you think walking is a fundamental part of fulfilling those rights?
Yes, in fact, I'd like to say that India's constitution guarantees every citizen a fundamental right to move freely across the country, which is, in fact, protected under the constitution. So today, most of the cities, although have roads, but roads are meant for automobiles. So the urban planning is based on the policy recommendations and design directives, which are borrowed from the automobile, dependence. Like citizens' right is not given importance, and on the other hand, more importance is given to the automobile industries and their preferences. So this is the problem that we are facing now. It is the problem is with the government. The problem is with the policymakers. The problem is with the law, which are insufficient. Of course, there are judgments of the Supreme Court and even other high courts, which has dealt with this issue, right to walk and all. But then it is not sufficient. There is a dicey situation because I mean the judgments are all conflicting. There is no clarity as to what exactly need to be followed. So I regret that the present system is yet to come out with some much more clarity in terms of policy making and in terms of law making. Not only policy alone, there should be some good laws which can protect the people in general, in the sense like mostly vulnerable people. Vulnerable people, I mean, I meant by saying vulnerable people, I meant uh, the social group which includes children, women, uh, aged people, senior citizens. So see, these people, I mean, even disabled people for that matter. So these people never feel safe to walk besides the road because there are no proper, pathways, or maybe we can say like the roadways. Besides, I mean, like it's not safer. So because of which, the right to walk has been undermined. It has to be given more acknowledgement. Like we have to. I mean, the government and the system need to recognize these rights and give more please I mean importance. Otherwise, as Dr. Manoj Kini was telling, that we basically human beings are meant for walking, right? That's what he opined. If not, what will happen is we will be walking to decadence. We'll be walking to death because this is not the purpose of our life. Is we can't walk. I mean, we have to walk for a living. Instead, what's happening is because of no proper infrastructure, no proper laws and legal regulations, we are going to doom. So I would rather recommend that this is the time. The need of the hour is to we have to rise and awake, and then come out with some good policies and good laws and regulations, or else it would be very late.
Mhm, mhm. So a sidewalk is considered a public space, right, or a public place. So isn't it unfair to say that people who have disabilities, or people who are old, or people who have other something else that's limiting them, have no access to it? Isn't it a problem of equality?
Yeah, of course, that's a problem of equality, because whenever I may not be the authority to speak in terms of urban planning, but there are specialists who can comment on that. But then generally when I speak, not law, generally if I speak, like when you consider urban planning, or if you consider any sort of development, equality has to be taken into prime consideration. Why? Because we cannot uh, we cannot only consider a particular sector of society, or a particular group of society, a social group. That's not possible. We have to consider every section of society. See, for example, I'll tell you, the challenge that the law has. I've gone through several Supreme Court judgments. Few of the judgments which gives right to hawkers, who have to actually who have the right to sell whatever they want, or maybe the vendors who has the right to sell whatever they want besides the road. There are judgments protecting their rights. Now on the other side, in the same road where the vendor is selling, there is an issue of car parking, or maybe vehicle. So they are coming out with a grievance that where do we park our car if the vendors are actually allowed to sell their whatever they want to sell. So there is a conflict of rights. There is a conflict of rights of different sections of society, different categories of people, class of people. So the challenge is to address and maintain an equilibrium, by acknowledging that there is a concept of equality. We have to give equal rights to everybody, and then settle this matter. So definitely right to equality plays a fundamental role in deciding these issues of policy making with respect to right to walk, or walking as a fundamental right.
Thank you, Advocate Siddharth. My next question is to Dr. Sridevi. Uh, Doctor, so based on everything that we heard, why do roads in Kerala not have sidewalks?
Okay, thank you, Maria. Actually, we should not say that roads do not have sidewalks. The thing is that all the roads in everywhere in India is to be designed based on the Indian Roads Congress stipulations. There are lots of standards. IRC has developed a lot of standards, and they keep on improving these standards, or making changes to the standards. So, regarding coming back to the sidewalks, so there is an Indian Road Congress specification IRC 103 2012 20112, and it says that there are these actually, before telling to the concepts which is given in 103, I'll tell you that the roads are, earlier we always say that roads are meant for vehicles, but that concept has been changed to totally now. Now we say that as a sustainable development part, we say that the roads are meant for moving people, not for moving vehicle. So when we say that it is meant for moving people, it means that all the VRUs, vulnerable road users like pedestrians, bicyclists, everybody has to be given facility. So that is the way we are designing roads now. So coming back to the sidewalks, the IRC says that there are 5 basic principles, that is safety, security, continuity, comfort, and livability. So these are the facilities to be provided for a person, for a pedestrian. And it should be the design of the road itself, the cross section of the road itself should be inclusive of all this. So how to get all this? that is the footpath surface, it should be without cracks. I'm saying what the IRC stipulates. It should be without cracks, bumps, stable, firm, and steep resistance. So that is the width. The width should be enough to accommodate pedestrian flow at a given point. That is, if it is in an urban setting, how many pedestrians are expected based on a detailed study? How many pedestrians are expected? What is the per hour flow of pedestrians? So the width should be decided based on that only. Then regarding the obstructions, it is clear. So coming back to the width again, it says certain stipulations. I'll tell you the stipulations. That is the required width as per adjacent land use. Okay, so the major problem which we are facing is, as I earlier said, in front of a shop there will not be place. In front of another bus stop there will not be space. But the IRC says that in the case of a residential bar mixed land use, the width of the sidewalk or the footpath should be 1.8 meter. In the case of a mixed land use, other than that, that is, it should be 2.5 meter. Sorry that we cannot provide at the Kerala situations now. And in front of a shopping complex, it should be 3.5 to 4 meter. And we are hardly finding space for a single lane road, no? Then in front of bus stops, it should be 3 meter. And high intensity commercial areas, it should be 4 meter. I'm talking about the sidewalks, that is footpath. So these are the standards stipulated in the IRC. But in we have conducted a study earlier, way back, about 5 years back, I think. And in that study, actually what it says is that we have conducted this study in 4 cities, I think. I remember correctly, 4 cities. That is, what is the availability index? I'll say, what is the availability of footpath? It was conducted in Kochi. The study was conducted for 21 roads. So you know that the situation of Kochi. So between 90 to 100% availability. I'm talking not about the width. What is available to the pedestrians. So the availability between 90 to 100% availability, out of the 21 roads, 14%. 14 roads have the availability. Then between 75 to 90, only 2 roads. And between 50 to 75, 3, and less than 50, 2 roads have, out of this 21 roads. And I'll say that the roads selected for studies, comparatively good roads, good designed roads. So this is the situation in Kochi. So whatever is available to the pedestrians is in this terms only. Coming back to Trivandrum, where we have the city road improvement project, we have developed 11 roads with all the facilities and all, with the sidewalks, everything is there, and those are design roads. There, about 37 roads were studied, and between 90 to 100% availability of this footpath is only for 7 roads. That is. Yeah, and between 75 to 96 roads, and between 50 to 75, 10 roads, and the remaining less than 50, 14%. Even though the roads were designed and constructed, the availability for the pedestrians is like that. This is where we have to intervene, where the encroachers, shop owners, everybody is using the footpaths for other use rather than for walking. And similarly, Thrissur also, 13 roads. Out of this, less than 50% availability for 10 roads, out of 13 roads. So coming back to Kozhikode, out of 21 roads, 7 roads are having less than 50% availability. So this is the data situation in Kerala. And so I think with this, I'll conclude for the question asked by Ms. Maria. So we can further discuss on these aspects.
Thank you. Thank you. So so this is an open question. I don't know who I should specifically ask this to. Which agency is responsible for maintenance and like establishing sidewalks in Kerala?
So actually, I'll give an answer to that. Actually, the road is there are different road owners in Kerala. The National Highway is owned by National Highway Authority of India. The State Highway by the PWD. The village roads are maintained and owned by the local LSGD, local self-governments. Like that, then there are roads owned by Forest Department, Port Department. So actually, the road, who is the owner of the road, is responsible for all the maintenance, all the well-being of all these roads. So another thing here I would like to say before our honorable advocate is that there is a Highway Protection Act. As per the Highway Protection Act, the owner of the road is legally able to take any action against these intruders, anybody who does any unwanted act on these roads. So we can use that Highway Protection Act, the protection of that Highway Protection Act to protect these roads.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Thank you, ma'am. My question is to Dr. Manoj Kumar. So, do you think having or establishing a design guideline for our street helps? I think you're on mute, sorry.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, in fact, it's not. I mean, it's not very easy. Design guidelines, as ma'am was telling, there are several agencies who are running this show. In the sense, we have got the LSGD who is having a major right to many of these street networks. We do have National Highway Authority where we have the highway surrounding areas, and those things are under their control. Then we have got the state government PWD roads division. So the problem here is that each of this part of this network is controlled and regulated by different authorities. So we don't have a single authority who is in charge of all those things. But at the same time, if you look at the legal aspects, even the Sustainable Development Goals SDG 2015, it speaks about walkability and access to amenities as a civic right. So, as per SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities, it says that it connects to the heart of pedestrian space with its mission statement: make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. So the problem here is that as such, we don't have a single authority who is in charge of the different aspects of maintaining and designing the public space or the streets. And even the profession, if you look at the profession, we have got urban planners, we have got transportation designers, we have got local self-government engineers, and there are several agencies who are town planners overall into the action, into the design of public spaces. But frankly speaking, there is a profession called urban design where they are the people who are dealing with the design of public spaces, where they are taught professionally how to design the street networks, how to design the pathways, and the different aspects of design. Everything is being taught, but the problem is that the professionals are not being considered in this whole process. I mean, as far as design is concerned. So I think that we have to seriously think about this, and possibly, if as part of this particular discussion, if we can bring out a paper which can address to this particular cause, and obviously, I can definitely do that, because just for information, I'm telling you, government is coming up with a design policy. We are all working for that. So Kerala government is very serious about coming up with design policy as soon as possible. We are holding up a workshop probably in the month of August. Uh, so all of us are going to sit together. All the stakeholders are brought in one single place where they will be discussing about the various aspects of this, and obviously street design will become a part of that, and the design of street will be a part of this workshop, and we'll be coming up with a competitive to deal with this situation. So hope this will solve this issue.
Yeah. I think my next question is to Dr. Sridevi. So I recently worked on a project here in San Francisco where the project itself was kind of like replacing the sidewalks of the site that the sidewalks around the site that we were working on. So over here, a lot of sidewalks are maintained by site owners, by property owners. Is there any provision for any of that in India?
Actually, that system is different here. Here, actually, the road, as I earlier said, the road is the property, public property, and it is the owner of the road, that is whether it is LSGD or National Highway Authority of India. There, it is the sole property of the owner of the road. So it's a public domain. It's a public property. So there are there are very few cases in which the medians or the channelizers or these are being maintained by certain agencies as a part of their advertisement. Or like that, some cases are there. But in Kerala, normally it is not being promoted because we are in the stage of development only. Under different schemes, we are developing these roads only. An example which I can say is that LSGD under Rebuild Kerala scheme, RKI, they are improving many roads under external funding. And in that roads, they are doing the roads as per the actual IRC conditions only, in road concrete stipulations only. They are providing whatever is to be provided. That is means well-designed roads they are doing. It is under stages of different stages of implementation. Similarly, Kerala KIFBI, in Kerala Infrastructure Investment Board, KIFBI is also funding lots of roads in Kerala. It's all in development stage. And this KIFBI itself has given certain guidelines based on the IRC stipulations. And in that guidelines, they have clearly specified that the width should be 2 meter. For roads greater than 10 meter wide roads, the width of footpath should be 2 meter. So like that, so for wherever the KIFBI roads are there, that is the roads funded by KIFBI is there, we'll be providing the pedestrian facilities. So like that we can do in certain cases. Otherwise, like whatever is done in the US, we cannot do it here as on date. But we can develop, we can
See,
improve the situation.
I would like to add a point here, ma'am. In fact, if you look at the road section, we do have, as I told you, we do have different road networks of different hierarchy. Like, for example, a panchayat road, then we do have a city level street, we do have state highways, we do have national highways. But the problem is that we don't have design sections in place. I think that we have to have a section with minimum provisions. Like, for example, it should be legally bound. Like, for example, if you are designing a road, that road should have this minimum sidewalk, this minimum right of way, and it should have these provisions. That sort of a legal document is not available anywhere. So at present, what we are doing is that depending upon the size and shape of the road and the area, the local engineers do design whatever is possible. It is being done. The problem here is that many times what happens is that we give importance to the motorized street, not for the pedestrian pathway. And sometimes, what happens here is, if you look at the issues and challenges, many a times I have seen there is a lack or confused sidewalks are there, undulations are there, non-integration of services, then skewed priorities, accessibility issues, safety concerns, then vendors blocking the thoroughfare, unattractive, public utilization of that particular area, surface treatment is very bad, inconsistent signages, then these footpaths are not catering to the climatic challenges, improper management, throwing waste, then organically structured streets. Like, for example, if there's a tree, the tree will remain there. If there is something else, it will remain there. So these are the serious problems that we are facing. And unless otherwise there is a strong design guideline for a street, for a pathway, we cannot, implement this. So because when people are working, like, for example, PWD is having a code of conduct. Similarly, this LSGD is having a code of conduct. So for them, roads are very much, specified how the road should be, what is the width of the road, or how the bitumen should be laid, etc., etc. But nowhere it speaks about how the footpath should be. So this lack of guidance or guiding principles is something which creates the whole problem.
So how can we
And
bring the
ownership? Yeah.
So go ahead, sorry.
Yes. No, I think as you said, it will be a right decision if we can have these guidelines implemented primarily by the local body or whomever is the authority, and then if we can give small sections to some people who are willing to, like maybe you can have some sort of MOU signed with them for regarding advertisement and maintenance. But I think that the idea of giving the property to the adjacent owner of the plot to maintain it will be a good idea, at least in residential areas.
Sir, actually, I would like to clarify that there are guidelines. There are well established guidelines for all type of roads. That is for village roads, for local street, everything. There are well established guidelines are there published by the Indian Road Congress. But in the state of Kerala, our situation is that whenever we are designing a new road, we can incorporate all these components to the new road. But whichever road is available, when we are strengthening it or doing some small changes to that, we are not unable to implement all these cross-sectional which is stipulated in the guidelines. That is our actual problem. So in the case of
Ma'am,
suppose Hmm.
I'll cite you one example where a road was being constructed. I was primarily speaking to those people who were designing it, and I was monitoring them also. The thing was that it is very specifically mentioned about the width of the road. Okay, so how much should be so they're very much specific about how much will be taken. The problem is that because of the shape of the road, in certain areas the footpath has squeezed, and squeezed in the sense there's hardly 1 or 2 feet there. A person cannot move, but they have maintained it as a footpath. At the same time, the road width is maintained and the footpath has been squeezed. The reason being, there is a strict guideline for the road, not for the footpath. So they can uh, dilute the whole thing on footpath, not on the road. That was their, comment on that.
Actually, there is strict guideline for the pedestrian facilities also, but we are unable to follow that guidelines for pedestrian facilities because of the bond of lack of space availability. So whatever for a minimum 3.5 meter carriage way, we have to provide for vehicles. In that case, if only 4 meter right of way is available, we will be saving in the terms of the footpath. That is what is actually happening. So land is a major problem in all parts of Kerala, including for the widening of national highway. Land is a major constraint which we are facing in Kerala. That is the problem actually. But as a transportation engineer, I should say that we should give facilities for all these VRUs, that is pedestrians and cyclists. We should not compromise on that. But we are not able to do that. That is the actual problem we are facing here.
So, Advocate Suvidat, from as a legal expert, how can we ensure that footpaths are built and maintained and are like safe for people to use?
See, I would answer this in a twofold manner. One is as a response to Dr. Sridevi was telling, because that is actually connected. And second is I will generally state your answer. Okay. First, let me just address the problem is. I mean, there's a saying. I mean, not a saying. I think Shakespeare said that the fault is not in our stars, the fault is in us. So the same idea, like the fault is not actually with the system. Actually, the fault is with us. We are not sensitized. We are not actually well aware, because you, me, everybody for that matter, we just go and do our business and then come back. See, we are not fully aware of our rights and liability. I mean, responsibilities. We are not. So the problem is actually with us. If see the difference is the developed nations, the citizens of the developed nations are much more aware of their rights. Here in the developing countries, people are not aware of their rights. That is the problem, and we constantly criticize, or we constantly point out or pinpoint the government, the system, the policy makers. Yeah, that's all. But ultimately, if each and everybody arise and awake that yes, this is my right, we have actually we have to utilize whatever facilities the government has provided in the right sense, in the right meaning, in the right letter and spirit. If the law is followed, everything will be sorted out. This is one aspect of the answer. And second is, I'll just answer directly to your question. It is see, this is not a isolated issue, because there is this is a larger systemic issue, because of the absence of a comprehensive set of legal rights and remedies for the pedestrians. We are in fact, running from pillar to post. We don't know what to do, from where to get our, relief. So if there is, suppose if there is a comprehensive law and everything is mentioned as per what, Dr. Manoj Kinney was telling, that, there should be some sort of system, and whatever Dr. Sridevi was telling, that, yes, there should be, everything is, put in one place, in one document. It's a comprehensive document. Say, for example, the infrastructure part, the design part, the developmental part, the rights and, liabilities uh, of the motorist, of the pedestrians, of the, whoever actually, on road. Everything is, clearly, everything is clearly set out. See, the problem now in India is we have several legislations, so many statutory provisions. You take for matter, I mean, for that matter, you take Motor Vehicle, Act is there, 1988. We have Indian Penal Code is there. There are several provisions, protecting, I mean, penalizing, motorists for violating, certain provisions. And I mean, what is the end result? End result is so many laws, but ultimately people are dissatisfied. People are, they are unhappy. This is the, reality that, we are facing. So we need to address this, uh, you know, somewhere, like, I will rather say that, it has to be started off, by approaching the court, that let court come out with the guidelines stating that, these are the things have to be, followed until a proper comprehensive legislation is passed by the parliament. I mean central legislation, so that the entire states, entire all the, states can, benefit out of that. Or else each and every state, based on their demography, based on their regional, situations, they also can come out with, specific laws, so that at least their issues can be sorted out. Because we know that very well, that India, if you take it as a country, it's a large country, and the situation, the problems that we face in Kerala is not the problems that the people face in Bihar. That, I mean, I'm talking about the road infrastructure and the pedestrian rights. No, they don't even think of roads. They don't. I mean, people from Bihar or Jharkhand, or, from, let's say, any, underdeveloped, state, they will feel like, we are only bothered about our, three-time meal. Why do we actually think of the roads, and why do we actually think of the pedestrian rights? We don't even think of those things. So there is an inequality, there is a sort of imbalance within this country. So therefore this has to be addressed at the state level. Maybe, that can be, started off by a comprehensive legislation, because then only that legislation can be delegated to the most local level, at the grassroots level. So I think it has to be the reverse, not from the, I told two things. One is, the legislation has to come from the top, then it has to percolate down. And the other thing is, right from grassroots, sensitizing ourselves, we have to be aware, then it has to go up, like that. It has to be, a two-way route.
Yeah, and we
I
can
do
make
I do have something to Maria.
Yeah.
I do have something. It's a question basically, or maybe it's my confusion. As a practitioner, or as a preacher of urban design, we do have policies. This question is both to Dr. Sridevi and to Advocate Suvidat. We do have transportation policies. For example, transportation policy of Kerala 2011. It speaks about public transport will get preferential treatment in the tax structure compared to personal transport. And also Kerala Road Development Policy 2009. It speaks about adopting better standards and specifications in design and construction of roads, ensure road safety, mitigate ribbon development, then improving the quality of life in rural areas, improve the functional capability of roads, etc., etc. And we do have parking policies. We do have Person and Disabilities Act of 1995. We have got National Urban Transport Policy of 2006. And we have got hawker policies, all policies in place. And everywhere, if you go through it seriously, we know that on all these places, they do mention about pedestrians. They do mention about the quality of space that is required. But my question is, when this is happening in many places, each and every street where this is not obeyed, this is not practiced, why the government or why the court is not able to take an action? And I hope there are loopholes. That is why it is existing like that. We do have several accidents that is happening. I do remember last time in Kollam, one lady, her legs went inside the small crevices between two slabs, and she was severely hurt. This will not happen in Europe or US, but this type of case, when it happens in India, even they are not compensated. Forget about punishment, they are not even compensated. So why these type of things are happening if we do have all these policies in place? My question is, are the is the law strong enough to control these type of things? Is the law strong enough to guide these type of things? Is the law strong enough to kind of maintain the minimum standards of the road and footpaths?
Well,
It's basically my doubt.
well, see, I will answer it in a much more lighter way. There is a proverb that says that too many cook spoil the payasam. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the same problem. In India, the problem is so many laws are there. So many, it's pretty complicated. I have volumes of books with respect to motor vehicles. There's so many volumes, like lakhs and lakhs of cases, lakhs and lakhs of judgments. We can't even read and can't even memorize, can't forget about interpreting all these things. So the thing is, when it comes down, I mean, when it come down to a particular instance, for example, as you said, that somebody got their leg hurt, by falling into the wherever, like, so that is because, okay, local authorities were negligent to fix that issue, and as a result, a poor citizen was at the receiving end. Okay, so maybe he or she may be getting the relief in terms of compensation or whatever, but that is just one or two instances. That okay, but what about the general public, the larger picture? There, to address that, this discussion is actually meant for that. Why is that not being addressed? Probably one or two small things can be sorted out. Maybe that may create a shock and awe. As Stalin said that one man's death is a tragedy, but a million death is a statistics. So similarly, one person got hurt is like wow, oh my God, it's a shock. Like we were all drawing attention to that person, but every day on a daily basis, such things are happening in different places, in different dimensions. So we have laws, but we are not able to address it because there are so many laws, because people are not aware. The system is really lethargic about what's happening around. So these are the issues that need to be addressed. But I believe my humble suggestion is, as a pedestrian, right of the pedestrian has to be equated with the fundamental right, and that has to be acknowledged by the constitutional courts, either High Court or maybe the Supreme Court, so that just like there is a concept called right to privacy, okay, because Supreme Court enlarged the concept of right to life, to right to privacy also. Similarly, I believe, it's my suggestion, my humble opinion, that pedestrians' right to walk, or right to footpath, or right to sideway walks, it has to be a part of the fundamental right to life. So this has never been discussed, this has never been acknowledged, this has never been written or spoken, or this has never ever as an idea, at least uh, you know in the minds of experts, have come out with. So therefore I think this court has to settle it. But if once court settles it, definitely each and everybody can approach the court as a matter of fundamental right rather than a statutory right because now we have laws. Those statutes give rights to us. So those are the statutory rights. But I believe that statutory right, we are flooded with that. But what is the purpose ultimately? Nothing, nothing. It's mere, remaining in papers. They're just, just for, showpiece. What we need is right of the pedestrian has to be equated with right to life. It has to be a part of fundamental right. Therefore, people will be much more aware, and people will be seeking their this fundamental right in the court of law, so that they get justice.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, it would be great to like expand the right of life to certain other categories, like say walking on the footpath or like something else for achieving a basic quality of life.
I'd
I
like
agree.
to, I'd like to say one point. In this case, let us think about the actual situation in Kerala. See, here the court, all the courts are flooded with so many cases, many issues and all. And for the cases of any inadequacies in the standards of roads, the court may not be able to take a suo motu case. So am I right, advocate? So unless some incident happens, some incident like a person dying on the road or something happens, and if the affected party go to the court only, they are making a case against that. The affected party is unable to go to the court, means it is all forgotten by the time. Like this is the way we are following. And even if somebody gets a justice in the lower court, again it will go to the higher court where government is on the other side, and ultimately when it go to the higher and higher courts, the affected victim will not get any justice. That is what is normally happening in Kerala in some of the cases. I'm not telling in all the cases. In some of the cases, it goes like that. So how can we make a change to that? Because in the present situation, court may not be able to take a suo motu case for all the inadequacies of the roads or pedestrians, footpaths. So how can we move ahead?
No, once this idea of right of the pedestrian, if that is acknowledged as a fundamental right, definitely a major change is going to happen. Because earlier anybody can tap your phone. Earlier anybody can actually like do, I mean, infringe your fundamental, I mean, your right of privacy. But now nobody can do it without your permission, because privacy is actually a fundamental right. So it has, it has been endorsed by the Supreme Court. It has been, judgment has been passed. Similarly, if any NGO or if anybody who is interested can approach the court of law, seeking a direction to the government that this right to walk or right to footpath or right to sidewalk need to be a fundamental right. That means, as a result, what is going to happen is all the roads across this particular state, it becomes a mandatory thing for the urbanist, for the urban planners, for all the, urban designers, that yes, road means on two sides, there has to be a footpath, without which the road concept, ROAD, is incomplete. So this has to be, if we start today, like this is the approach that, we are, going, then definitely in the long run, say, let's say, after 2 decades, then we will start feeling that yes, our state is, having, better facilities, better infrastructure. People, are, not, encountering accidents as, it was earlier, because most of the people are walking on, on the laid footpath. People are not walking on their, on the roads. So this will sort out. So the only thing is, an idea is, the beginning, of a big revolution. So I know that, it is going to be a revolutionary idea, but then this discussion has to be, this is the, that small step, to, to take a greater leap for the mankind. So I believe that, this panel discussion would in fact be an eye opener for all the experts from all the domains that yes, it has to start from right to footpath as a fundamental right, which is not now the situation. So therefore, definitely, it has to be done by the court. They are the one who have to actually, send a message to the public, or to the government.
Hello, everyone. I was able only to join around 11 o'clock, so I'm sorry for the delay. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Roshan, and I'm from Kochi. Now, listening to all of you has been an eye-opener, like he was saying. Well, what I have noticed here in Kerala, even if you provide a footpath, that may not be enough for pedestrians because of urban flooding. And that is so common. It happens everywhere, every monsoon, every time there's a cloud burst. So the problem here is that we do not have a water sensitive urban design anywhere. And people walking in knee-high waters, that is not just the situation in a place like Kainakari, that is the situation even in very urbanized places in Kochi. There are entire streets in the middle of the city in Kochi where people have left, and I'm talking about 2022, where people have left because the canals overflowed thrice in year, 4 times in year, and it's just impossible to replace your entire household furniture and appliances. So you're not talking about low-income families, you're talking about middle-income and high-income groups who have very good homes. But the canal flooding is a serious issue. So forget walking on the streets, they can't even live there. So there are places, so this is something, water sensitive urban design is something that is the need of the hour in Kerala. And considering that roads and streets that together constitute up to about 70% of the impervious urban surface area. So being able to convey all of this stormwater, all of this rainwater is what is needed right now. Whether the end, whether our aim is more pedestrianization or a beautification, whatever be the purpose, we have a serious issue. Kerala has a serious issue with rainwater, and precipitation is not something that we can change. So what we can change is what to do with the runoff. How to filter the runoff. I mean, there are so many things that used to be done till the 1970s. Paddy fields were used as retention ponds because the farmers permitted intentional flooding. The floodwater was diverted. But that time, it was not that much of a problem because the pollution level in the runoff water was very less. Now we'd have to make sure that before it enters the paddy fields, the water would have to be filtered. Secondly, farmers now may need to be incentivized to permit such a thing. So, but it is something that can be considered, and
shall I respond to?
Yeah,
Shall
sure.
I respond to this?
Yes, sure, please.
In fact, it is a very, very serious issue that you have raised, and also it's a very difficult thing to attend to. The reason being, we have been discussing this since last so many years. The problem with Kerala is that if you seriously look at it, none of our cities are designed, and partly designed cities are Kochi, Alleppey and Trichy. These are the two urban areas which has been designed in late 18th century by engineers. And the interesting thing is that if you look at the way our cities have grown, we can say that we have created some sort of accretion around urban nodes. That's how our cities have grown. So we have got this, what do you call this, green field, brown field developments, which has accumulated over the years, especially with the density. We do have a very high density. If you look at it from the national perspective, our density is almost like 4 times the national density. And if you look at Kerala's coastal region, our coastal region is almost like 90 lakhs to 90 lakhs population with heavily concentrated urban pockets extending from Kasaragod to Trivandrum. So what has happened is over the years, the way we have developed is wherever available land pockets are available, we have started converting them into urban land. And that's why the entire paddy fields or whatever open space, they were all converted now. Best example is our Nadubashiri airport, which is in fact the floodplain. And it was like, see, I mean, paddy fields. And if you look at the history of cultivation in Kerala, the paddy fields are basically those areas which were waterlogging. So what we have always tried to say is that whenever, wherever, when we do a town planning scheme, we have to respect the basic layer, that is the natural layer, and we have to identify the development based on the contours of the city. But frankly speaking, I'm telling you, none of our plans were based on contours. I hope it is being considered now, because without considering contours in a heavily, uh, tropical place like Kerala, we cannot go in for any kind of development. That is one aspect. Second aspect is, as you said, the consumerist culture which Kerala has, gone into since last 20 years. The problem is that many things that we are purchasing, it comes as, in plastic covers or maybe wraps or whatever it is, and the refills, the pen that we use is all thrown. I don't think that anybody is having a control over all those things. Like what is happening to the refill pens that we use? What is happening to the toothbrushes that we are using? What is happening to the toothpicks, the plastic toothpicks that we are using? All those things are going down the canals and then to the water bodies and they clog. So as Advocate Sudhir was saying that it's a kind of a very tough situation where several people have to act. Like, for example, we have to be aware of ourselves, one thing. Second thing, the authorities should also be aware of. But again, with all these things in place, I don't think without a strong legal mechanism, things cannot happen. So I totally accept what uh, you were saying regarding this thing, but I think it is something which is very, very complex and which has to be considered while, like, for example, in 2018, 2019 floods, I was wondering that will change the way people will look at, development. I said sincerely wished that it was a lesson, great lesson for us, so that we'll be now capable of identifying the problems with respect to living near the water bodies or reclaiming lands or throwing waste to the water bodies. Everything was shown by nature, but I don't think that anybody has learned from that. We have gone back to the same situation. We have gone back to the reclamation of land. We have gone in back to refilling. We have started exploiting the and disturbing the contours. So all those things are still maintaining, continuing even after this great lesson that we learned during floods. So I don't know who will bell the cat, but the situation is grave, as you told. I hope that the younger generation, they are learning from this and they will be much more strict in considering this, and it will have a say on the policies and programs that government is planning. So the problem is that whenever there is a law, like for example, there is a land protection law here. Like for example, if you have got a huge area which is basically paddy field or this environmentally sensitive, we are not supposed to reclaim it. There's a law, but in the same law there is a provision that if the land is below 5 cents, that you can do it. So what happens is that because of that law,
Aggregated.
the larger land is yes, the larger land is divided into small patches, and they sell it, and it becomes residential colonies. That is how our pristine agricultural land is getting converted into residential colonies. And we say that it's because of lack of density, and we don't have a habitat policy. I know that each and every, if you look at Kerala, many of us have 3 or 4 houses. And why should we build 20,000 square feet, 30,000 square feet houses? And for a family to live, for a small family to live, you hardly have to have 1,500 or 2,000 square feet house. We don't need 4,000, 5,000 square feet houses, especially in a fragile, ecologically fragile, sensitive state like Kerala. But our habitat policy is not speaking anything like that. Look at our apartments. We are looking at land as an investment. We are not looking at land as something which which we have to invest for for the future. It is for us, it's a money bank. That's the problem. So there are several things that contributes to what you are speaking, and I hope that sensitization of this particular issue to the whole public with respect to our ecologically fragile nature and our urban density, bringing up a habitat policy and bringing up legal provisions to enact these things will be the solution for future.
Yeah, thank you, Roshan. Thank you, Dr. Manoj. Before we wrap up, I just want to quickly open it up for any questions or comments. So if anybody in the audience has any questions or comments, now will be your time.
Yeah, I have a few things. I think I have a different perspective, maybe because of an academician. Thing is like, actually, I did my master's in housing planning from CET, and then I went to Netherlands for my sustainable development program. What I was hearing to Madam Sri Devi, Manoj sir, and Sudha sir, thing is like we were talking about the first thing. Well, first discussions were about the pedestrians. I mean the space. What I feel is like a general difference in regarding the attitude of facing the problems that we think upon, because I born and brought up in Cochin city north, and all the proposals that come with a good development developed countries, like when the metro came, we were planning to have the MG road with pedestrians, I mean the walkways, and then one side or both sides there is two-way traffic, and ultimately the same thing happened with the pillars in the center and the traffic is going as it is. And same is similar is the case with everywhere. But while I was doing my PhD, I was able to travel a lot. And as Maria was saying about, that is like what we do here is like we have, when we make a proposal, we think upon the developed countries, all the developments of today. But finally, when we come up with the implementation level, we again go to the conventional way. That is what I found from this MG road. The proposals were there, because when I went to during this, my experience is like when I went for a conference in Spain. Or normally when we look for conference, we look for cheap accommodation. Then when I reached there, I found that it is about 7 kilometers to my conventional center. Then I searched upon the day before and thought like I will travel or take a public transport, but they said that I could walk through a corridor. So that corridor on both sides there is one way traffic, but I walked 7 kilometers ignorantly, because I thought, okay, I will catch the bus from the next stop. They have the walkways that can be used in between. There is for the children. There are, of course, in all the developed countries that is there. But the same is with Gangtok also in India. So likewise, we could have developed this MG road like that. And again, if we go to the major cities of other developed countries also, the city streets on some particular days or the half noon session, it is being open for the pedestrians to do the shopping. And the municipality will be taking care for cleaning all the solid waste there. So many, I think we could have incorporated many such things in the streets opening to the pedestrians if we cannot provide the pedestrian way exclusively for the pedestrians, like on the both sides or through the center likewise. So I think one aspect is like we can change the design or the land use on some particular aspects. Of course, during a morning, the stadium road or the Queen's Walkway is now closed for morning walk. Likewise, we could have done in the Broadway also. And the main aspect what I found is that we don't have a parking lot for that. If we have a sufficient parking space and if we ask the people to walk, then definitely all this MG road, all we can adopt with the shopping area. Because even if we want to do the shopping in the MG road, it is difficult for a person to park in one place and to walk through the footpath, because it is just a narrow. Even if in the Queen's Walkway, we cannot make a walk. If from the Chittu Road to Broadway, one can take the walkway. I mean, by walking, the pedestrian can do. So we are providing 2 meters wide pedestrian way, and we provide everything in with tree. Everything is there, so people cannot walk through that. So if they have the sufficient width, and if you have this space like this, we are not, even if more development comes, the new development also, we don't give importance for that. Then with all the discussions regarding this waterways, solid waste, I think my PhD been produced with Adira, that ecological footprint analysis, solid waste, same is the problem. We are disposing everything together and asking to increase the footprint to Brahmapuram. So instead, we could have made so many segregations and outsource with all the different, the solid waste, that mixing with organic waste. That is also the main problem that we realize with respect to Cochin city. And again, with the water management part, what I was hearing that the Parentur Canal, we studied, I did a study there. They're 30 meters wide at the Tevera and Parentur, but when we come into the city, it is hardly 3 meters. So mainly we have taken pillars towards the Parentur Canal and put a slab just like we put a drain slab. So all these contribute to the flood that happened in 1819 in the city. So what I feel is that we are talking a lot of things and the policy, everything is there, but we always stick on to what we are doing conventionally. So the new, if you make a project proposal from institution level or just like organizations where Dr. May Matthew Madam is running, that new proposals comes, and if you make the policy and strategy changes with respect to the development aspect, I think we can make good urban design. So I don't know, it is my perspective, what I learned from the experience I gained from different countries, and with all my masters or the bachelor degree projects that we study in a very limited time.
Just want to just want to add a part of statistics here
Yeah.
regarding the
Oh,
case of
sir.
Kochi.
Yes, sir.
As far as the NatPac report says, distribution of footpath in Cochin city is footpath on one side is 2%, and footpath on both side is 6%, and no footpath is 92%.
Mhm.
So that is the situation in the Cochin city. And regarding the
Mm.
drainage facility, the distribution of drainage facility in Cochin city, uh, covered drain is 8%, and uncovered drain is 68%. Sorry, 24%, and no drain is 68%.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj, and thank you, Anne. This has quickly escalated into a very passionate debate, and I'm really glad that we had this. To conclude, I just want to leave you all with this one quote that I read. God made us walking animals called pedestrians. As a fish needs to swim, a bird to fly, and a deer to run, we need to walk, not in order to survive, but to be happy. With this, I would like to conclude this panel, and I would like to invite Matthew Paul to deliver the vote of thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Architect Maria Katikaran. So, hello. Good afternoon to one and all present. Myself, Matthew Paul. I am a BTech student currently studying in Rajagiri School of Engineering and Technology. I'm a CE volunteer here to present the vote of thanks. First and foremost, I would like to thank the founders of Center for Environmental Efficiency, Dr. May Matthew and Anthony Katikaran, for conducting a panel session for a very relevant topic, which is pedestrian pathways, the right to life, and the road to sustainability. Then I would like to thank the panel members, Dr. Manoj Kumar Kini, architect and urban designer, Dr. Sridevi BG, transportation expert, Advocate Suvidat Sundaram, advocate on record, Supreme Court of India. Then I would like to thank architect Maria Katikaran, who is the moderator of the panel discussion. Last but never the least, I would like to thank all those who have attended the session. Special thanks to all those who have expressed their thoughts and ideas, which made the session more lively. Yeah, so Dr. Subha, Vishwadas, and Anne Roshine Thomas, thank you for expressing your ideas and making this session more lively. Then we expect some follow-up action on this matter to achieve environmentally. More sessions will be organized by CEE for such important and relevant topics. So then, thanking you all once again, and have a great day.